Hey guys, welcome back. So today's video is going to be about shoes. So if you're not a runner or maybe a hiker, you're probably going to want to ignore this one. This is going to be about the Altra Lone Peak 4.0. I bought these shoes about 2 months ago and recorded video of what they look like new, a first run, initial thoughts, and then I never got to post it. So since then I've run almost 150 miles in these shoes, and I filmed some video of conditions we don't typically get here in Southern California, which I think helps add to the review. I'm going to do that part of the review now. I'm going to take the two parts of the review and put them at the end, so it may feel a little awkward because my initial review was earlier. Anyway, we just got 1 million followers on TikTok. Really? Yeah, you gotta make a video about it, like right now. Yeah, I can do that video. Do you need me to do it right now? I could probably do it. If you want to. Hand that to me. What, these guys? No, that one. This? Yep. Yeah, I'll bring it to you in a minute. I guess go ahead and get started. Okay, all right. Crazy. That's not what I expected. Anyway, sorry for the interruption. Let's get to the video.
Sorry for my voice. I just got a cold for like 2 days. I just got back from New York and I received a pair of shoes that I bought before I went. These are Altra Lone Peak 4. So it's not their newest model, but it's a brand new shoe for me. So these are still kind of like within the normal shoe price range. This price hasn't dropped on these dramatically yet. I think these were like an 80 something dollars. The newer ones are about 100 to 120, so a few bucks difference. I'm just going to tear them up anyway. So I have gone through 3 other pairs of Altra shoes, but I've been using Altra Superior since version 1.5. And I've been running them for a long time. I like Altra a lot. They hold up pretty well. They're not the sturdiest, but they're pretty good. Like for the bang for the buck is nice. So I figured I'd try these. These are a little bit more meaty in the sole than the Superior that I've been using, but they still have the same zero drop feature. And typically when I run in either a very minimalist shoe like a Merrell. For years and years I ran totally barefoot in Florida, but when I moved to California, it's there's more glass and stuff around, so I kind of don't do it very much ever anymore. I still like to. But I'll use like a really minimalist shoes. But when I'm running trails, there's a lot of rocky stuff. I like to have a little bit more protection from stones and so forth. Particularly if I'm running at a time when it might get dark. So if it's daytime and I'm going to run a half marathon distance in rocky, stony trails, I can still wear a minimalist shoe without a problem. But if it gets dark, it's hard to judge the ground. When you wear a minimalist shoe, you have to pay a lot of attention to where you step. With a shoe like this, not as much. These have some pretty serious lugs on the bottom for traction, which I'm excited about. I'm gonna go try these out. Clearly they're brand new. I haven't even put them on yet, so we'll see how they go. But the fitment on all of my Ultras have been the same. I wear a size 10 in Ultra. These run normal. Most of my shoes are size 10. I'm gonna take them for a run. So I'm back at my spot by the Hollywood Reservoir. Got the new shoes on. We're gonna head up to the wisdom tree first. First impressions, I'm at the top of Cahuenga Peak, which is the highest point, and there's a wisdom tree down over there. So far, the top feels a lot like my Ultra Superiors, which I like a lot. The bottom is definitely more cushy, which is gonna take me a little getting used to, because when I run in a minimalist shoe, it's really responsive to little details in the stones, whereas these big cushy shoes kind of like land on stuff and then they sort of roll around. And maybe that'll reduce as I break them in a little bit and just get used to the way that I need to land in the shoe to make them work. I've come all the way from the road way down there up to the tree. So I've been all pretty uphill, but from this point out is mostly downhill, minus a couple tiny sections, so should be good. Everything up to this point has been really technical. Now I'm on a road for a little bit going downhill, and these shoes are actually very comfortable on this surface. The grip is really, really good on the technical stuff. However, as I mentioned before, I feel clumsy, so I just think I gotta get used to them. I'm gonna tighten these just a little bit. There could be just some slack happening because of breaking the shoes in a little bit. Shoes are now more snug. This is kind of the last bit of technical stuff coming up here. Hopped across a little section and hit my knee on a rock. Didn't fall, just sort of clacked it. It was sort of like on the side, like a big boulder hiding in the bushes, and my knee just smacked it. Not expecting it at all. And it hurt pretty good. And now I'm trying to walk it off here. It hurts, my knee hurts a lot less, but it kind of like actually made my hip kind of feel weird. So we'll see. It might be okay in a few minutes. I'm gonna start running a little bit. Feel a little better now. Whew, that wasn't fun. A little bit of hard pack trail. It was actually pretty nice to run on. Knee doesn't feel too bad. I think we're gonna make it. I'm back on the fire road, and these shoes feel very nice on this kind of terrain. Almost back. And if you guys remember, this is the reverse of the trail I did last time I ran into the Hollywood sign. And in about 2 weeks, I'll be running this whole loop 4 times to do a marathon distance, which should be pretty fun. Loop complete, 6.8 miles. Let's go talk about these shoes.
So it's been a few days since I did my run. It's been kind of crazy around here, and I've still got a little bit of this lingering cold. Then I'm basically in my bedroom right now. I don't think I've ever filmed a video in here. I'm kind of on quarantine because I have all these in-laws here. My sister-in-law is having a baby any day now, so my in-laws are staying with us, and I don't want to get them sick. So I'm basically hiding out in the bedroom, and there's been people here until like right now. So it's time to finish this video talking about my Lone Peak 4.0s. To talk about the run in this shoe is interesting because overall I'm going to say I liked it, but it made me feel really clumsy at the same time, which isn't, I think it's more of just me getting used to this amount of shoe. This isn't as huge as like a Hoka or one of these other shoes with a super high stack height, but compared to what I run in a lot of the time, which is something like this, which is a Merrell Barefoot. This is one of my favorite shoes to run in. This shoe has basically no padding in the sole. There's nothing in there. They're just a little rubber bottom on them. It's as close to running barefoot as you can probably get, and just have a little bit of protection on the foot. But there's no padding. And then I have a pair that are basically the same kind of shoe, but they have even more aggressive grip for trail stuff. And I love these. These are probably my favorite type of shoes to run in. That said, I do have a little bit slightly heavier trail shoes that are padded, kind of in between. So here's the new Lone Peak, and this is the Ultra Superior, which is, you can see the upper is very similar. The upper on this feels almost the same as this one, and these are clearly, pretty getting pretty worn out. There's like holes and stuff in them, but the upper shape and feel is very similar. However, this is much cushier, and the lugs are a lot more aggressive compared to the Ultra Superiors, which these are very worn out. But what was on the edge here, the lugs were not quite as gnarly as they are on here. This feels more like a hiking boot kind of tread, which is really, really great for grip. I gotta say the grip on these was phenomenal. It was really, really, really good. It had zero problem. I didn't slip once. But the sole, being that it's so padded and cushy, means that when I step on a rock, if I didn't hit it dead center, if I hit just a little off, a little bit, my foot would compress, and then the whole foot would start to roll off to the side, and it almost like bounce it off at an angle, which is weird because in a minimalist kind of shoe like this, when you land on anything, you just feel it and it doesn't bounce anywhere. Your foot just kind of stays there, which is typically good for me. Now, you might ask why I would want a thick shoe like this. I've been very interested watching a lot of these ultra marathoners, and I'm friends with some of these people now, and they typically like to ride a thicker shoe like this, like run in something that's a little bit heavier for these super long distances. And I kind of can understand why. A shoe like this, you have to really pay attention to where you're stepping at all times. And I started using the Ultra Superior, which is, it's got some padding, not a huge amount, but significantly more than this shoe. I started using those because if I ran at times when it was getting into being dusk or even getting dark, looking for little stones in the path all the time got really difficult. And with a shoe like this, I had to slow down so much that I was almost getting to a walking pace just to try not to step on anything that would, impact my foot. So that's like the one drawback to a shoe like this, even though this is my favorite way to run. But these were great. I really, really like these. I've had, let's see, this is this pair, and then this is my first pair. So I've had 3 pairs of Ultra Superior, and now this is my first Lone Peak. This, in my opinion, is slightly too much cushion for my taste, but I actually still think it's a really good shoe. I've watched a few other reviews on these, and people said that the cushiness wears out quickly in here, which could be a problem for a lot of people. I actually kind of look forward to this breaking in some and becoming a little less cushioned. The bottom, the rubber is very, very protective from like sharp stones and things. So even if this had about half the cushioning, this would be a really, really great shoe. I can't say much for the durability. I've only run in it that one time. These are just very first impressions. And I did a hike in this since that run. I did like a 6-mile hike in this, which was just walking around. It was fine. I think these actually might be really, really good hiking shoes. So, if you're looking for a good hiking shoe, the sneaker, this would be a winner in my book. I really dig these. They're very comfortable to walk in. One thing that I think about shoes with a lot of padding is, compared to a shoe with no padding, is that you stabilize a lot more with your foot when you run, and I find it get a little different type of fatigue. It doesn't wear out my legs in the same sense, but it's more like these little stabilizer muscles get a lot of workout that they don't get when I wear a shoe like this. So that's a thing. I'm sure I'll get used to it, and I have to change my stride just a little bit in these. They are 0 drop, so from front to back, there's no, like the where your front of your foot and the back of the foot is here is completely flat. It doesn't lift up in the back or anything, which is really good. But just because of the cushion and the way I land, I have to be a little more cautious that it's going to kick my foot out, which is kind of interesting and slightly unfortunate, because the grip is so good, it makes me want to run really fast over the rocky stuff. But because when I land, it's less controllable, it makes me have to slow down. So I'm going to try it again. I'm running a marathon, a trail marathon in these in about 10 days. What is the date today? Yeah, 10 days from today, trail marathon. So I'll get 26 straight miles, 26 plus straight miles in these shoes. If I have like significant different opinion on these, then I'll go back and redo the review or just update it. But so far, pretty good. All right, so this is the last day of me wearing these shoes before I do my review, and it is raining, which doesn't happen often here in LA. So I figured I would get some miles in with these Lone Peaks and see how they do. Shoes are a little bit wet, but they're not soaked through yet. You can see it is pretty wet out. Here's some puddles. I am going to aim for them. We're about to hit the highest point of the run. A really good grip on these kind of rocks. I don't know how they would handle really smooth stuff, but this like hard packed and like kind of like sandstone feeling rock, a really good grip. All right, I just came down this stuff, which is very steep and it's very smoothed out rock, and it was very sketchy, but 0 slips in these shoes, so that is very good. Now I'm coming down another steep section here. So that's probably the steepest part I have to come down, and those rocks are quite worn in. So if there was a rock I was going to slip on, for sure it would be those, and I didn't. So I'm coming down right now. This is probably steeper than it looks in camera. Now this rock here, these are a little bit smoother. They're still not like smooth granite or anything, but I'm trying to see where the point is where they start to slip, and so far so good. So that's nice to know. The tread actually seems to repel the mud really well. Not a lot of dirt has been sticking to these shoes. I've checked the tread a few times, and some of my other shoes collect mud and the bottoms get all gross, but these seem to, like I said, they seem to repel the dirt really nicely. It could just be because it's, you know, as wet as it is. Maybe if it was slightly drier mud, if that makes any sense, maybe I would have more issue. But anyway, I'm gonna get back to cruising here. And since this is the last run of the review, I'm gonna back to the rock that I hit my knee on at the beginning of the review. You can see it's kind of healed there. I still have, you can see it, a bit of a weird lump under my knee. It's kind of besides the point, but I think I chipped the bone. Anyway, back to it. I have literally been running in just about every puddle I see, just to see how these shoes drain out. They actually seem like they drain pretty well. My socks are not the best for this test right now, but they are working. They're not sloshing for too long after I get out of the puddle, which means the water is coming out somewhere. Obviously not going to dry on me in these conditions, but as long as they're not like waterlogged, that's all that I care about. It's not a thing I have to worry about much here in Southern California. 6.74 miles. You see my legs are pretty muddy, but the soles hold no mud. It's really awesome. Since the end of my last video where you see me spraying these with the hose, I have not worn them because I wanted to finish my review as is. Now, they look really good still. These are just shy of 150 miles of running in these shoes. And overall, I mean, they have held up really well. And I've run on really, really technical rocky conditions and a lot of crazy downhill, a lot of elevation gain, and the grip, as you can see compared to earlier, is holding up really, really well in my opinion, which is good. So giant plus to the shoe. The upper almost looks new. It's held up great. Again, running over rocks and everything, compared to, see these holes right here? Those are from catching rocks and things as I run. Did the same paths and trails with these shoes, and not even a scuff really on the upper. The only place where I had anything start to kind of wear was this little flap in the back here. See how it's lifted a tiny bit? On both shoes that started to lift. This one actually is almost fixed. It's kind of lifting up a tiny bit again, but it pulled back a little, and I fixed it with a little barge cement, which is basically like a contact adhesive that they use to make shoes. So it's very, very sturdy. And that happened pretty early when I got the shoe, and the other shoes stayed fine until recently. So it's, you can see it's kind of like separating right there, and it's not very far back. It's not really affecting any of the part that you stand on. It's just that little mud flap. Easy to fix with, again, I use this super industrial strength contact cement for a lot of projects. So I have it on hand, a little toothpick, put some in there, let it dry for a second, stick it back together. It's fine. If a thing that concerns you, a lot of people just cut this thing off, this little flap. They'll just cut it off with a pair of scissors. I find that if I'm hiking and I'm wearing pants, it kind of keeps my pants from going under the back of the shoe. As far as how they're wearing, that's the main thing that I've seen so far. Now, I talked earlier in my previous review about how they felt too tall and how they would bounce my feet off of rocks and so forth. They still kind of do that a little bit. Like these are not my favorite shoes for running over technical conditions, which is a shame because they grip so well that it's like my brain fights to go, wow, I got all this grip. I don't have to worry about slipping. But I also have to worry about my ankles getting twisted because the shoes are a little too tall. I will say that at about almost exactly 110 miles, I started to feel the cushion and the sole start to kind of get compressed a little bit more, which I think some people are going to hate that. For me, that's a good thing. It took me a while to get it to that point, and it was hard because there's a lot about the shoe that I really like. And that stack height thing was just, I've run now a marathon distance and more than a couple 15-mile runs in these shoes. And at the end of the run, my legs feel pretty much fine, except my lower calf shin area I can just feel the muscle fatigue in there from constantly correcting my feet from having to sink into the cushioning in the shoes. With the Ultra Superior, they have a little less cushion. It's only 4 millimeters less overall, which is about that much. It's just a tiny bit. And both of these shoes have a rock plate. However, the rock plate in the Ultra Superior is removable. So it's in there. You see that little piece? you can take that out, and it's not very deep. It's just under the little insert here. So what that does is protects you from rocks, but it also keeps your foot from sinking into the foam as much, which I really like. This shoe has the rock plate, but it's permanently in the shoe. It's embedded somewhere inside. So it's a lot softer to the touch in here than this one is. Even though this one has plenty of cushion and sucks up bumps and trail stuff, this shoe I don't have to correct as much as I do with this shoe. And that's a big deal with fatigue on my legs, especially on a longer run. This shoe is much more comfortable over a long run than this one. In that regard, my feet feel great in the shoe, but my, like I said, the stabilizer muscles get tweaked. As you saw in my last video, last section I ran in the rain, I intentionally ran through every puddle I saw just to make sure these shoes would get really, really soaked and to see how they held up. The drainage was really good in these. I'm from Florida, got rained on tons of times, had tons and tons of shoes get rained on, it's super wet, and they just turn into like a puddle inside, and they're disgusting. These drained out very quickly. I don't know where they drained from. I guess there's some spots along the sides here where water can drain out, but it seemed to drain surprisingly fast. I could tell the water was leaving the shoe quickly, which is really, really good. Also, the soles just did not have any dirt stuck to them. I would run and run through mud and all this stuff, and I'd pick up the shoe and look at the bottom, and they were clean, which is awesome. Now, this is similar to if you're riding mountain bikes or something. When you have tires that pick up a lot of dirt, or soles of your shoes that pick up a lot of dirt, they become smooth and they get really slippery, especially on rocks. And these never got like that. In all that wet condition, the grip was just awesome the whole way. I wish they would put this sole on this shoe. That would be an amazing blend for me. So overall, this is a really, really good shoe, but not quite suited for me, for my tastes. I am still going to wear these a ton. I'm going to just wear these until they die, just like all my other shoes. But typically, I prefer a shoe much more minimalist, like this. I think I showed these earlier, but yeah, just, super, super minimal. So this has, more cushion than I'm used to, and it's too soft for what I'm used to. However, I think these are still really good shoes. If you're into a little bit higher stack height and you want a little more cushion, this would probably be great for you. Again, traction's fantastic. And they've held up very, very well so far for 150 miles, especially what I've put them through 150 miles. This is really, really good and impressive, actually. And I think these would make a really good hiking shoe. So if you're just a hiker, you're doing a lot of outdoor stuff, but you want something you could like run in if you wanted to on the trails, this shoe would be excellent, I think, especially because of the water drainage. I was impressed with that. So yeah, there it is. Lone Peak 4. They do have the Lone Peak 4.5, which looks very similar. It costs about $40 more than this one. So yeah, hopefully that was useful to some of you. If you guys are curious about any of my other shoe choices or even running in general, let me know, and I'll make a video about it. And I will stop this now before it gets too much longer. Thanks for stopping by, and I will see you kids soon.